Welcome back to Silver Year's Golden Lessons. Today I want to tell you about a woman named Clara. For 50 years, Clara lived in a quiet house on the edge of town, a woman most people thought was just a simple, lonely neighbor. But Clara carried a secret that wouldn't be revealed until her final days. It wasn't a secret of scandal or fortune, but one of silent, unwavering kindness that touched every soul in this town without them ever knowing her name. It began in the winter of 1974. A young mother, struggling to keep her children warm, found a bundle of wool blankets on her porch with a simple note. "You are loved." She never knew where they came from. And so it continued. Year after year, decade after decade. A grocery bill paid for a struggling student, a bouquet of flowers for a grieving widow. Always anonymous, always silent. The townspeople called her the Silent Angel. They spent half a century wondering who this mysterious benefactor was, never suspecting the quiet woman who lived at the end of the road. Clara didn't want the credit. She didn't want the thank yous. She only wanted to leave the world a little softer than she found it. And for 50 years, that is exactly what she did. As the years turned into decades, the legends of the Silent Angel grew. But for Clara, the anonymity wasn't just a choice. It was a sanctuary. She understood that a gift given in secret has a special kind of power. I remember one summer in the 80s. The heat was stifling, and the town's well had run dry for many of the poorer families. The tension in the air was as heavy as the humidity. Every morning, before the sun dared to peek over the horizon, crates of fresh water appeared in the town square. No one saw who brought them. They just saw the relief on the faces of the children. There was one moment, though, when a young boy almost caught her. He saw a shadow retreating into the morning mist. He called out, "Wait," but the figure vanished into the grey light. That boy is a grandfather now, and he still tells the story of the shadow that brought life back to his home during the Great Drought. He never knew it was just Clara, the quiet lady with the ivy-covered cottage. She watched from her window as the town revived, her heart full, her identity safe. To her, the joy of the town was the only reward she ever needed, but the secret was becoming harder to keep. The 90s brought a new rhythm to the town, but the Silent Angel remained a constant quiet force. By now, the mystery had become a shared secret that bound us all together. There was Sarah, a brilliant girl on the verge of dropping out of medical school until an anonymous bank draft arrived, covering her final tuition. No name was attached, only those words, "You are loved." Sarah became our head surgeon, but she never forgot the debt she could never repay to a ghost. At the local diner, theories were endless. Some thought it was a wealthy recluse, others a collective of elders. No one looked toward the woman tending her roses. Clara's roses were her camouflage. As she waved to her neighbors, she was carrying the weight of 1,000 secrets, each one a light lit in someone else's darkness. As the calendar flipped to the new millennium, the world was changing faster than any of us could have imagined. Technology was accelerating, but in our town, the Silent Angel reminded us of the things that are timeless. Our historic clock tower had fallen into disrepair, and the council had voted for its demolition. But then, a month before the wrecking balls were scheduled, a check appeared on the mayor's desk. It was enough to restore every gear and stone. The donor remained anonymous, but the note was unmistakable. Sarah, our surgeon, saw it first. Those 3 words, "You are loved." Every time that bell rings, it's a heartbeat. A reminder that Clara didn't just save a building, she saved a piece of our soul. She was keeping us connected to our history, one silent act at a time. Clara was getting older herself then, her steps a little slower, but her heart was as vibrant as ever. She was preparing her final, greatest lesson for us all. As the years stretched into the 2010s, the town changed, but its heart stayed the same. Clara, however, was finally beginning to feel the weight of her 85 years. Her daily walks became weekly. Her garden grew wild around the edges. But her spirit, The part of her that reached out to the world remained as bright as ever. Sarah, the student she saved, was now our head physician. When Clara's health declined, it was Sarah who sat by her bedside every evening. Sarah saw the envelopes. She saw the familiar handwriting. She realized in a heartbeat that the woman she was caring for was the ghost she had been chasing for 40 years. But Sarah didn't say a word. She knew Clara's sanctuary was her silence. A bond was formed built on a debt of grace that would never be spoken aloud. There is one chapter of Clara's life few remember clearly, the winter of 2003. It wasn't just a storm, it was a siege that threatened our town's spirit. For 2 weeks, roads were impassable and power lines snapped. In the older parts of town, heating oil was running out, and the cold became dangerous. Our elderly neighbours were most at risk, watching their own breath turn to mist in freezing rooms. But Clara knew she couldn't let the frost claim her friends. Oil trucks arrived at every at-risk house, and bags of groceries appeared on snowy porches. The silent angel had become our lifeline in the dark. That winter cost Clara nearly everything, but she never breathed a word. She was teaching us that kindness isn't just a gesture, it's a responsibility. To understand the depth of Clara's heart, we look back at 1979. The textile mill closed, and for the first time, our town's windows were dim with worry. Hundreds of families were without a livelihood. As Christmas approached, parents wondered how to explain the empty space beneath their trees. But on Christmas Eve, the community centre was found filled with groceries and toys. A miracle appeared from nowhere, keeping our town's hope alive. No one knew Clara had spent her inheritance to ensure those families felt seen. She feasted on the knowledge that her neighbours were full. Clara taught us that hope is more contagious than fear. She was the one who kept our spirits alive when the world closed its doors on us. By the late 80s, our town library, once a temple of knowledge, was slowly fading. The shelves were thinning, and the children had little reason to linger in the quiet dust. But Clara understood that to save a town's future, you must first feed its imagination. She couldn't bear to see the windows of the mind closing for our youth. Every month, a shipment of the newest, brightest books would arrive at the door. No invoice, no sender, just entire worlds waiting to be explored by curious hands. She quietly funded literacy programs that ensured no child would fall behind. Clara was the teacher who never stood in a classroom, yet she taught us the value of a story. Clara believed that every book was a bridge to a better life. For decades, she was the silent architect, building paths to futures our children hadn't yet dared to imagine. By the mid-90s, the world was obsessed with speed. Assembly lines were replacing artisans, but Clara knew that some things simply cannot be mass-produced. Mr. Henderson, our town's carpenter, was ready to close his doors. He felt like a man out of time in a world of plastic and steel. Then came the anonymous commissions for public benches and school desks, all with that familiar note, "You are loved." His shop stayed open. Clara saved a man's livelihood and our town's appreciation for things that take time. She was the silent patron of the human touch. She understood that a town is built of more than bricks. It's built of the love we pour into our work. Another light lit in our darkness. By the early 2010s, there was a scar in the centre of our town, a derelict lot on Main Street. We walked past it every day until the silent angel decided to look closer. It had been empty for 20 years, but then anonymous bank drafts arrived at the city office, earmarked for the restoration of that single acre of dirt. Clara provided the spark, and people who had been strangers found themselves shoulder to shoulder, digging in the dirt. She was growing more than just flowers. Today, the Garden of Grace is the pride of our town. It started with an anonymous gift from a woman who saw beauty where we saw waste. Clara taught us that even the most broken places can be made beautiful if someone is willing to plant the first seed in silence. By 2015, our town's animal shelter was in despair. The building was crumbling, and talk at town hall was focused on closure. It seemed the most vulnerable among us were about to lose their last refuge. But once again, the silent angel was listening. An anonymous donation arrived that tripled the budget. The old shelter was transformed into a sanctuary, ensuring every stray found a safe haven. By saving the shelter, she was protecting the pure love that only an animal can give. She was building a more compassionate world, one rescue at a time. Clara taught us that our value is measured by how we treat those who can do nothing for us. Every life, no matter how small, is worthy of grace. As we moved toward the end of the 90s, Clara realized a town needs more than just food, it needs a reason to sing. She decided to bring the color back to our streets. Our local arts collective was struggling, and the summer music festival had been cancelled for years. The town felt quiet and less vibrant. Then an anonymous grant appeared at the mayor's office. It funded the instruments, the stage, and the very first Festival of Light. That summer, the air was filled with music. Clara sat on a bench at the edge of the crowd, a silent spectator in a world she had helped paint with sound. She taught us that beauty is a basic human need. Clara was making sure we had a life worth living, one silent act of art at a time. By the mid-2000s, the world was moving fast. For our high school seniors, the horizon was full of promise, but blocked by a wall of rising tuition. We saw brilliant minds looking at brochures with tears. They had the grades, but not the means. That was when the hidden scholarship appeared. Dozens received letters. The silent angel had been watching, and she decided their dreams were too valuable to be lost to poverty. Those students are now leaders across the globe. They carry her legacy in their success, a silent ripple that turned into a wave. Clara understood that true wealth is what you invest in the potential of others. She was buying a future for our town, one graduate at a time. As our town grew, so did the needs of our local clinic. By the late 2000s, the equipment was aging, and families often had to travel miles for simple diagnostics. There were mothers like Eleanor, whose daughter needed constant care. The stress of the long road was often as heavy as the illness itself. But Clara was listening. Then, a crate arrived at the loading dock. Inside was a state-of-the-art machine, paid for in full by an anonymous trust. It changed everything overnight. Our children no longer had to leave home for the help they needed. Clara never saw the results, but she knew our town's heart was beating stronger because of it. She was the silent guardian of our health, proving that the most powerful cures often come from a dose of anonymous love. She kept us strong, one gift at a time. By the early 2010s, the paper records of our ancestors, our maps, deeds, and stories, were turning to dust in the basement of Town Hall, forgotten by a world looking only forward. The memories were dissolving, and the town council didn't have the funds to save them. But Clara believed that a town without a memory has no soul. Then, an anonymous trust funded a massive restoration project. They provided the experts and tools to digitize every page. The silent angel was ensuring our past had a future. She turned a basement of decay into a living library of light. She was the keeper of our stories, acting from the shadows to keep our light from going out. Clara understood that we are all just a collection of stories. By saving our history, she was giving us back our identity. She was building a bridge between generations. By 2018, the fruits of Clara's silent labor were everywhere, but she knew that for a legacy to truly endure, it must be protected from the shifting winds of time. She established a perpetual trust, an anonymous foundation endowed to fund our garden, library, and clinic forever. The paperwork was simple, but the promise was eternal. The council realized the silent angel had guaranteed our children's future. We were no longer just a town with a mystery. We were a town with a guardian. She made sure the music would never stop, and the books would always be new. Her silence was becoming a shout of love across the years. Clara showed us that the most lasting things aren't built of stone, but of the grace we leave behind. She was finishing her masterpiece in silence. Clara's long journey finally reached its twilight. She passed away as peacefully as she had lived, leaving behind a world she had quietly mended with 50 years of grace. In her cottage, They found a single wooden box. It contained letters, hundreds of them, each addressed to the people she had helped, a silent history of our town's healing. The town gathered not in sorrow, but in wonder. We covered her porch in thousands of roses, realizing that our silent angel was simply the neighbor who lived among us. She taught us that the loudest impact often comes from the quietest hearts. Clara's golden lesson is simple. Leave the world a little softer than you found it. If Clara's 50 years of kindness touched you, please share this story, comment with your own golden lesson, and subscribe for more stories of wisdom. Until next time.